My name is Jeff Morgan. I am from Dallas, Texas, and I'm currently in Rockwall, Texas, and I did not realize until today, and this is a very good thing, I think, that the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services on 1131 East Yellow Jacket is closed. I hope that they have not opened up anywhere else here. Maybe they have. Maybe they moved to a bigger building. I don't know. But if this actually is closed, this would be a very, very, very good thing. And I'm here on April the 25th right now, 2022. This is Parental Alienation Awareness Day. As I just mentioned in front of the courthouse in Rockwall, Mayor Kevin Fowler signed a proclamation for Rockwall, Texas, declaring April the 25th, 2022 to be acknowledged as Parental Alienation Awareness Day. And very briefly, once again, I'll read this. It says that whereas parental alienation deprives children of their right to love and be loved by both parents and by their whole family, and whereas parental alienation can be very emotionally and mentally damaging to a child, and whereas behavior such as speaking negatively about a parent to or in front of a child can destroy the bond between a loving parent and a child, and whereas awareness of this issue creates education and understanding to better the lives of children in our community, and whereas the month of April is Child Abuse Awareness and Prevention Month, and parental alienation is considered to be a form of child psychological abuse. Now therefore I, Kevin Fowler, Mayor of the City of Rockwall, do hereby proclaim April the 25th, 2022 as Parental Alienation Awareness Day in the City of Rockwall, and call upon all citizens to join others in blowing bubbles of love to symbolize that as bubbles flow freely, so should natural love that a child has for both parents and both sides of their family. In witness whereof, I hereunto set my hand and official seal on this 4th day of April, 2022. Kevin Fowler, Mayor. And once again, I want to thank Kevin Fowler, the Mayor of Rockwall, for signing this proclamation here. I was in front of the Rockwall County Courthouse just a moment ago because, as I said, I believe that one of the biggest contributors, one of the biggest child abusers in the state are our family courts, our anti-family courts, our anti-family court lawyers, the entire system, the industry designed to profit off of the destruction of families, anti-family court judges. I've been into a number of hearings, and especially in Rockwall, I've been here in front of Judge Brett Hall of the 382nd District Court. Also, I've been in the courtroom with Judge David Rakow, and I've witnessed their abuse. I've witnessed things that they've done that, had they done this in society, that never would have been permitted to take place. These courtrooms that are basically courtrooms that allow injustice and abuse to flourish. However, I'm in front of the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services, and I'm very glad to be here, especially if this building is done, because Texas Department of Family and Protective Services is probably the #2 child abuse agency in the state of Texas. They have done so much to destroy lives of both parents and children, and I am glad to see that this is done. Parental alienation is when one parent gets excluded from a child's life because of the poisoning of the children, or sometimes because a parent will not let a child see the other parent, will be the gatekeeper between the parent and the child, and all of a sudden the child doesn't want to see the other parent anymore, or because the one parent has completely destroyed the other parent, often needlessly, often with lies to the children, and they tell lies and the children become convinced of it. But parental alienation can also be caused by the abusiveness of our anti-family court system and the abusiveness of agencies like the Department of Family Protective Services, which is why I am so glad to see this place closed up. April 25th, 2015. That was the day, and I did not know it was Parental Alienation Awareness Day. I had no clue what parental alienation was. That was the last time that I saw my 2 grandchildren, Cruz Morgan and Gideon Morgan. The last time I got to hold them and play with them. Cruz was with me the entire day. I was babysitting Cruz while my daughter was checking out of the hospital with Gideon. And the reason that they were in the hospital is because of an infection that Gideon had. Somehow, the perversity of this whole system, CPS took the report, and somehow I got blamed for filing a report with Children's Protective Services. As a result, they would not tell my daughter I had nothing to do with it. They needed to protect the hospital system. They needed to protect the system and allow it to furnish. My daughter sued me. My daughter has kept the grandchildren away from me. Prior to that, she has said, "Dad, I'm so glad you're in Cruz and Gideon's lives. I know that if you're always in their lives, they will turn out good because you're good for them. These are her words that she wrote to me. And yet when Children's Protective Services got involved, that's when the alienation occurred. And mine is more the instance of grandparent alienation, that I'm not allowed to see my grandparent because my daughter capriciously, first off, she misunderstood what was going on, and then she got all upset, and then she was able to get her mother to commit perjury in front of a court on her behalf. And a whole lot of other things have taken place. So my two grandchildren, Cruz and Gideon, who I used to babysit up to 5 times a week, loved them very much, was with them. Gideon took his very first steps walking to me. Cruz would, no matter whose arms he was in, if he saw me, he would go wiggling out and come running to me. He stayed at our house. Our house was like their home. But on an eventful day that I had nothing to do with, I actually was babysitting Cruz on April 25th, 2015, when my daughter came to pick up Cruz. Gideon was in the car with her. And that evening, CPS came knocking on my daughter's door, and somehow I got blamed for calling CPS. I had told my daughter that CPS is an abusive agency, don't trust CPS, and somehow she thought that I had called CPS, something I would never do. You don't even want to call CPS on your worst enemies. That's how abusive this agency is. And by the way, as a Texas taxpayer, you fund CPS with your tax dollars. Over $2.1 billion, I believe, is what the budget is every 2 years. That's what you're paying to have your children and your grandchildren abused. And now CPS says, well, we're here to protect the children. They have no idea who the children are. I remember talking with a CPS director down in Dallas after I came in here in Rockwall and spoke with them, and they wanted to know, do we need to take the children? Do we need to take the children? I never said that. I never said my daughter was a bad mother at all. But they just want to take the children. Can we take the children? Do we want to take the children? And some of the legislators, well, maybe we should take some children out of the whole thing, and maybe call CPS and have them take the children. I never alleged that. And yet CPS would not tell the truth and actually tell my daughter that it had absolutely nothing to do with the report. Oh, they did 18 months later, after I got a senator, Senator Van Taylor and his office got involved, and they were able to investigate, and CPS actually wrote a letter and said, well, we've checked our files, you didn't have anything to do with it. Thanks, Department of Family and Protective Services, for responding 18 months later, and only with regard to a senator's inquiry. You would not do it with me. You let my family be destroyed. I had to go to and face both a criminal trial in which a prosecutor tried to convict me of some type of a crime, and I don't even know what the crime was, to be honest. What were they accusing me of? I don't even know what it was. And I had to also face a civil jury as well, and that was under Judge Regina Moore. That's when my ex-wife went down there and lied like crazy, committed perjury. And by the way, I'm about ready to start to put out this stuff. This happened 7 years ago, approximately. And if people say, well, you've just been bitter and everything else, you know what? I got involved in this fight to help save our children and our grandchildren because of what I experienced. I have not experienced what other people have experienced. I have experienced some, and that's what got me involved in the fight. I can still fight, and I can fight for our children and our grandchildren, and that's what I intend to do. And if I had anything at all to do with the Department of Family Services, Protective Services being shut down in Rockwall, if indeed that is what happened, like I said, you never know with these snakes. They may move from one building and get a bigger building and have better equipment and everything else in there. Maybe that's what they've done. I don't know. But I did hear something today which I was very, very pleased about. Evidently, within the last year, because of the abusiveness and the stuff that goes on with CPS, the corruption within CPS, I have heard that not one child has been taken from a parent in Rockwall County this past year. I don't know if that's true, but the person who told me, I think, actually had the knowledge of it. And if that's the case, I want to congratulate you, citizens of Rockwall, that you're not dealing with this abusive agency anymore. With regard to Parental Alienation Awareness Day, as I said, CPS is a very abusive agency. Often in a situation of divorce, one parent will call CPS and launch an investigation against the other parent, and that gets used in divorce. And the judge says, well, of course CPS is investigating this thing here, so we must protect the children from the one parent, a very good parent. We must protect them. The judges fall for it hook, line, and sinker. Our legislators back this stuff up as well. I have a friend who has had over 45 complaints filed against him, all false reports, all frivolous reports, all designed to keep him away from his children, by an abusive ex-wife who had a lot of money and who filed reports of sexual misconduct against the children that never, ever happened. And Rick Robertson of the Coons Fuller law firm, he was the one who was defending the mom in the prosecution against my friend. Rick Robertson of the Coons Fuller, the abusive Coons Fuller law firm. By the way, Jessica Janicek, who defended Ann Georgelis, the one who wants to chemically castrate the 8-9-year-old boy of Jeff Younger. Coons Fuller is also involved in that case as well. Coons Fuller should also be charged with child abuse. As far as I am concerned, that's my opinion on the whole matter. Anyway, for Mayor Kevin Fowler, again, I want to thank you that you signed this proclamation, and I hope it does help to create awareness. When I first went through this, I had no idea what was going on. I started to talk about it because I just had no idea. You felt like, what is happening to me, that I'm being accused of all of these things that I never did? And it was a person out in the East Coast, somebody I worked with on a presidential campaign, and she was the one who told me about parental alienation. That was Elaine Johnson Cobb. She runs the Family Access site. You can look at it, Family Access, fighting for children's rights. Elaine has been involved with this for at least 10 years. I had no clue that it existed. And Elaine, I want to thank you, because had it not been for you, I would not have done anything about it. And then I started to meet up with other people. Wendy Perry is the person, I believe, who had the proclamation signed in the city of Rockwall. Wendy's a friend of mine too. She also went through the abuse that takes place in our anti-family courts, and she has been fighting to help children have a relationship with both parents. Her mother had to end up coming out of retirement, spending retirement funds to help her battle a rich and abusive ex-husband. So rich and abusive ex-husbands or rich and abusive ex-wives get to use the system to file false reports with CPS, which CPS says we're acting in the best interest of the children. We're protecting the children. It is nonsense. Instead of CPS, our legislators should be looking at things like grandparents. What about grandparents? Grandparents have a love for grandchildren that often even surpasses, if it's possible, the love that they have for their own children. There is something about a grandchild with a grandparent that is so special. And when parental alienation occurs, and when these agencies help to create this type of a situation, often a grandparent will be eliminated from a child's life. And often the grandchild will miss that grandparent for his or her entire life. This happens between children and parents, children and grandparents, children with uncles and aunts. Sometimes it even creates children against a brother and a sister. It is that wicked. But Kevin Fowler has signed this proclamation, and I do hope that Kevin Fowler actually, again, I congratulate you and thank you, Kevin Fowler, but I hope that this becomes more than just a mere proclamation. I hope this becomes something that the city of Rockwall, the county of Rockwall, becomes more aware of, that this is spoken of in front of city council. I know I've done my part in front of the Rockwall GOP. I've talked about this issue. I've come after the courts here. You know, I was one person. I had no clue what I was doing. But everybody who suffered from this, we need to band together. We need to talk about the issue of parental alienation. We need to talk about the abuse of CPS that has led to a lot of these issues. We need to talk about the abuse of our family courts and our anti-family attorneys and the anti-family laws we have in the state of Texas. We need to fix this system for the sake of our children and our grandchildren. If we don't do that, the mental abuse, the psychological abuse, the deprivation of our children and our grandchildren's rights and their ability to love both parents and both sides of the family will be damaged. That's it for right now. Thank you so much.